May my parents, teachers, relatives and friends, fellow Dharma-farers, be free from enmity and danger. Be free from mental suffering. Be free from physical suffering. May they take care of themselves happily.
Walking, right? Yeah, so in the Thai forest tradition, they try to incorporate into the daily life. Okay, next. Okay, so Vipassana got many technicalities, right? Many terms, right? So I will start off with this thing called the Vipassana Bhumipata, right? The passages on the stages or insight. So this can be found in the third basket of Buddhism, the third, this Tipitaka, right? This Abhidhamma Pitaka, the collection of all the very profound these treatises, right? So I won't explain everything, but this is just a rough overview, right? The ones in red, I won't explain it. I don't think it's necessary to know, right? The important things is actually, we'll explain later what is the 5 aggregates, right? What is the sense bases, right? So a lot of things are repetitive, like the 12 bases and 18 elements. And yeah, a lot of things are repetitive. The feelings, the Four Noble Truths, and yeah, the last one, dependent origination. I may not talk about it. It's very long, so I won't cover this. Okay, so we are going to move on the next slide. Okay, so starting with the 5 aggregates, right? Earlier on, we talked about 5 aggregates. So these are actually the word, right? Aggregate can be sound so very profound. You know, some people, what is aggregate? Yeah, so the Singaporeans will be thinking, oh, my primary school, the score, they call it the aggregate. They passed the primary school living education. So they have this thing called the aggregates. What's the total score, right? They call it the aggregates. So aggregates is actually these 5 kind of components, 5 components that form our attention. So why must we know this thing? Why must we know this thing? Because our totality of experience, right? All the the happiness and sufferings in life, all the ups and downs, are experienced through our attention. Are experienced through our attention. So it is important to study this mind, right? Study this attention, right? So that we can truly understand, yeah, the nature of our mind and eventually transcend or overcome suffering. So this is the whole idea of studying these things. So our attention or mind is composed of 5 things. They are not separate things, right? They're actually 5 in 1. 5 in 1. I'll give an example later, right? Okay. For example, let's say if you are seeing something with your eyes, right? So now you have the eye organ, right? You have the sense organ, and you have the screen right in front of you. So the screen is actually the object. The screen is the object, right? So when your eyes are working, the screen is there and the conditions are right. There's lighting and so on. And then eye consciousness arises. That means you are aware. Consciousness means you're aware. That means you're aware of what you're seeing, right? You can see this chart over here, right? So this is eye consciousness arise. So when these 3 come together, right? Your eye, the object, and the eye consciousness, right? These 3 are called contact. Yes, the mouse is pointing, right? You have the sense organ, which is the your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, right? Your senses. In Buddhism, we say 6 senses, right? So in science, in school, primary school, we learn 5 senses, right? So whenever the Western educated people, we tell them the 6 senses, and they think, hey, what is the 6th sense? ESP, huh? Psychic power. No. So the 6 senses, they include the last one, the mind, thinking. right? Like what you had for breakfast earlier, what you had for lunch. So this is thinking, right? So whatever you imagine, you think that one people cannot see you, right? People cannot hear, people cannot taste, right? So only you can experience. So this is using your mind, using your own brain or mind, whatever you want to call it. So, so these are the six senses, right? So these are the six senses we experience the world, right? So when we have all these things, right? These things come to contact, then we can move up the arrow. We go to the form, right? So when we pay attention to something, when we look at this screen, for example, right? There's this thing called the form. So form we covered in the meditations, the past two meditations earlier today. The form is defined as the four elements: earth, fire, wind, water, right? So earth represents something solid. You look at the screen, there's some object must be there, so you can see the screen. And the fire is the temperature, right? Hot and cold. Wind is the movement. Water is the moisture, etc. So these are the four elements that make up the whole universe. So actually these are pre-Buddhist kind of concepts, right? The whole universe is made of the four elements. Some may include more, maybe 5 elements, space, and someone add more, add consciousness, so there are more and more elements. So uh, yeah, so nothing magical about these elements. They are just categories, right? To categorize our experience. Okay, so this is the thing called form, and we can separate or rather classify, right? Form as part of material called rupa, right? Pali is called rupa. Some people may translate as body, right? Actually, I prefer the translation as form, right? Because if you look at the screen, the screen may not equal to your body. Yeah, it is another body outside. Yeah. So, yeah. So this is one of the translations, rupa, material. Then the next four aggregates, yeah, the one in blue, the next four aggregates, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, they are classified as the mind, yeah, nama, rupa. So nama is mind, and rupa is matter, right? So we are going to talk about nama, which is the mind, the mental aspects. So when we pay attention to something, there will be this thing called feelings, right? When you look at the screen, right? Whether maybe you have pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, or neutral, right? So maybe you don't like the wording, you don't like the font, right? You don't like the colors, right? So you may have certain feelings, or you may like it, right? So you have another kind of feeling. So everyone has different feelings. Or if you stare at this screen for too long, the feelings will change also. So the feelings is there, right? Feelings and sensations. So this is another aspect of our attention. And when we pay attention to something, there is also this aspect called perception, right? Perception is basically based on our past memory, whatever we've experienced before, all the terms and jargons, all the words, yeah, all the vocabulary, everything we experienced before will come into play when we identify a new object, right? When we even look at the screen, PERCEP. So you already learned this, since long ago, right? Maybe your preschool, you learn the alphabets, right? So when you, when you cognize, when you pay attention to something, you cognize and you recognize, oh, this word is called perception. You've already learned this before. Then you will give a label. So this function of labeling is called perception. Right? So sometimes there's a verbal kind of conception, sometimes there's non-verbal conceptions, sometimes it's just an experience, you cannot give a label to it, but you experienced before. Or sometimes it's a new experience, then you give a question mark kind of labeling, right? So these are various kind of perceptions. Okay, then the next one we are going to talk about is mental formations, right? Mental formations. Earlier on, somebody asked a question on karmic formations. So karmic formations, same as mental formations. That is the moment the thought is being constructed, right? The thought is being constructed, right? So when our attention arises, right? So that is the moment. So earlier on, I give experiment. I did an experiment of raising your finger, right? I was asking the participants to try to identify, point where is your attention right now. every moment you try to point, where is your attention right now? Is it up there all the time? Or is it the screen all the time, right? Right. So the transition between two attentions, right? So that's where you catch this mental formation, right? The moment the thought is being formed, right? So basically, we're trying to understand this. And the last one is consciousness. Consciousness, right? Consciousness is the awareness, and you know when you see something, you're using eye consciousness. When you're hearing, right? When you hear what I'm talking right now, you're using your ear consciousness, so on and so forth. So we have 6 sense organs, then we have 6 kinds of consciousness. And of course, in the Abhidharma, you have more kinds of consciousness, maybe 80 over kinds or 90 kinds of consciousness. Okay, then this consciousness is basically the sort of when we are aware of something, right? Then we have these 5, basically 5 in 1. So it's sort of important, right? This consciousness is very closely related to karma, right? When we have mental formations, when we have, we call it positive intentions, then our consciousness will be sort of in a higher kind of frequency. When we are guilty consciousness, no, then we have no lower kind of consciousness frequency. So there are different gradings of consciousness, right? So sometimes consciousness can be classified from a very low, no, very bad moral kind of consciousness, all the way to higher concentrative kind of consciousness, all the way to liberated kind of consciousness. So there's altitude, and we talk about the different sort of the latitude, the different classifications of consciousness in terms of the sense basis. So, but today's introduction, I won't go through like the Abhidharma thing. Anyway, I'm not trained in the Abhidharma, yeah, so I won't give a very scholastic kind of view on Abhidharma. Right, okay, so this is a rough idea, right? We are going to, later on in the guided meditation, we are trying to identify these 5. Even right now, you can identify. When you look at the screen, now these are the 5. When you hear something, is there 4 elements or not? Now when you hear what I'm saying, on the vibration in the eardrum, whatever. So all these are the 4 elements at work. So even like identify, you call this the earth element. That is using your perception already, right? Then you have feelings, whether earth, is it too hard or too soft, is it pleasant, unpleasant? So all these are 5 in 1. So maybe some people interpret, right? Especially in the later modern Theravada traditions, they have many stages of insight. So one of them is to separate mind and body, or mind and matter, whatever you call it, right? So and here we go, 5 in 1. There's no need to separate. You want to separate one by one, it's okay. Yeah, but we will talk about that later. Okay, next. Okay, so there we have the evolution of the steps of insight meditation. So chronologically, in the Buddha's time, the suttas will, the Buddha of great compassion will try to make things easy for people, right? So you just practice one step, and a lot of people reach enlightenment. So along the way, some people like to write more things and come up with more ideas. So once the scriptures are put into writing, and somebody wrote this thing called the Vimutti Magga from Sri Lanka, and the path of liberation has 6 steps, right? This book called the Vimutti Magga. So there are 6 steps of Vipassana, and probably one generation later, then somebody else, right, from India came down to Sri Lanka, did some translation of the commentaries, and he wrote another book called the Visuddhimagga, Path of Purification. So this time has 16 steps. So it gets more and more complicated, and less people get enlightened. And okay, then we move on next. Okay, so in the sutta, right? So this is one good clear case example, how a person, right, is a conversation between a new monk and Venerable Sariputta. Earlier on, we talked about Venerable Sariputta being the wisest disciple of the Buddha. So there's a conversation between the two. So this new monk asked Venerable Sariputta, how is it possible from a normal worldly person, right? A person full of desire and whatever not, how can they sort of reach this stream entry, right? Sotapanna, general person asked this question, right? Is it possible for a person to reach Sotapanna? Then Sariputta replied, yeah, what you need to do, right, is to reflect on the 5 aggregates as such, right? Inconstant, stressful, disease, cancer, error, painful, affliction, alien, dissolution, emptiness, non-self. Wow, so many objects of meditation, objects of contemplation. So we just choose one, right? So for most part in our meditation, we just reflect on this inconstancy, right? This impermanence, right? Talk about birth and death, rising and falling. So we talk about inconstant, right? So this is a person from there, then he can reach this stream enterer. Right, then the monk asks another question. How is it possible from a stream enterer enter the next level of the sainthood, right, which is once returner, is Sakadagami. Right, so the Venerable Sariputta said the same thing. Do the same step. Right, 5 aggregates, contemplate as inconstant, stressful, disease, blah, blah, blah. We just pick one. Then the monk asks another question. How do you proceed from a once returner to a non-returner, right? To an anagami, right? Another level higher. Then Venerable Sariputta replied the same thing. The 5 aggregates do the same thing, same step. And the monk asks again, how can a person from non-returner become an arahant? That means fully enlightened, right? Then the same answer, right? Inconstant, stressful, disease, blah, blah, blah. So actually just one step, right? Don't need to complicate yourself, so many steps. Most of the steps would include, especially in the post-canonical systems, they include the experience of the yogi, what can the yogi experience and whatever not. So, which I think is very subjective. Everybody has different experience. But the whole idea is if a person reduce desire and there's Dharma joy, right? So they can really see the Dharma for themselves. So this is real seeing and not just faith from just theory. Yeah. Okay, next. Then next is how to apply, right? So earlier on is talk about this contemplation on the impermanence, suffering, non-self, and whatever not. So there's this application right from the second official discourse of the Buddha, right? The first discourse, the Buddha taught the 5 monks, his first 5 disciples on the 4 noble truths, and then he carried on. He taught another sermon on the discourse on non-self to the same 5 disciples, which afterwards the 5 disciples got enlightened. So, so this is the last few portion of the scripture, right? The last few portions of this Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, right? How to contemplate in your daily life. So we have so many cognitive functions, right? So, so this is application, right? Thus, monks, any form, feeling, perception, fabrication, consciousness, the 5 aggregates. How can you practice observing these 5 aggregates? So here it goes, be it past, future, or present, right? Internal or external, blatant or subtle, common or sublime, far or near, right? Every form also can practice, right? This is non-self, impermanent, whatever not. So we're going to the first point. How is it possible, right, to contemplate past, future, or present? Right, a lot of times people, when they talk about meditation, people will always say, be at the present moment, right? Be at the present moment. Then what is this? How come got past and future one? How come got past and future? Can meditate, man, past and future? Yeah, this one the Buddha say about past and future. So past, like for example, when we contemplate on the Buddha, right? We think of the Buddha's the merits. He's a great teacher, one of his qualities. So we're actually thinking 2.5K years ago, right? 2,500 years ago, right? So that's thinking of the past, right? When we're thinking of this birth, aging, sickness, and death, right? We're thinking of both past and future. We have a reference, how does the dead skin look like, and the hair dropping off, how does it look like? That's referring to the past. And we're also thinking of the future. One day we get old, one day we get sick, one day we pass away. So that's thinking of the future, right? Yeah. So again, any kind of contemplation, be it past, future, or present, must be done correctly, right? Without the correct alignment, without the middle way mindset, a person can be practicing wrongly. So if a person, let's say they think of the past, if they don't have the middle way mindset, then end up they become worrying on the past, or maybe fantasizing on the past, then becomes not meditating anymore, right? Same thing when the person think of the future, if they do not have right thoughts, right contemplation, then when they think of the future, become planning, planning. So it becomes not meditation anymore, right? Same thing at the present, right? Some people say meditation must be at present. So I give a few examples. Let's say bodybuilders and supermodels, right? They always like to look at the mirror, right? They flex their muscles or look at their body, do whatever pose they want to do. Very present, always mindful of the body, right? Present moment. But is this the right kind of mindfulness, right kind of present moment, right? So is it devoid of greed and hatred, right? So we have to question ourselves on that. So the whole idea of understanding, right, this past, future, and present is to diversify the practice, right? Diversify our practice. Some systems of meditation only maybe focus on one kind of training, right? Earlier on we talked about, there's samatha and vipassana, various functions of training. So if a person just focus on one aspect, and then let's say they sort of go into daily life. There are a lot of meditators, a lot of yogis who complain, oh, I cannot meditate anymore. I only can meditate in meditation class, or I only can meditate in a retreat. I only can meditate in a meditation center. So they have this kind of excuse, right? But actually, we are supposed to practice in everyday moment. So let's say uh, if a person want to fill up a form, right? They want to apply for a job. They have to apply a form, right? Maybe write their CV, resume, right? So people ask, when is your birthday? You cannot put present moment, right? They straight away reject you, right? You won't get a job. You need to think of the past, right? So how to apply detachment even when thinking of the past or thinking of the future, right? So this is what we are aiming for. Yeah, the ideal state is whatever we do in our daily life, we can practice detachment, right? Bringing practice into daily life. Okay, then the next one is internal or external, right? So internal, that means, thinking here, or some people interpret as in the mind, right? So we think in the mind, so it can be internal. Then external, right? Earlier on, we do the meditation, we think of all beings, in the whole world. So that's external. Internal yourself, external outside of yourself. So this is another kind of training. So all these are actually training, right? The different kinds of various cognitive functions and processes, right? How we are able to be detached in whatever scenario. And the next one, blatant or subtle, right? Blatant is something coarse, right? Subtle is maybe something like what we imagine in our mind. Blatant is something coarse, right? Like our physical body. So when we do, let's say the Asubha meditation, right? Think of our hair, think of our teeth. So that is imagination, right? And we think further, some people want to do the full practice, think of our brain, think of our bones, our skull. Now, how many of us ever seen our brain before? How many of us ever seen our skull, our own uh, rib cage and whatever not? Right? So all these require imagination. Right? So all these are very subtle objects, right? Subtle objects. And the next one, common or sublime. So these are, we talk about sublime states of mind, very noble kind of emotions like loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity. So all these are considered sublime states of mind, even common states of mind, our circular states of mind, anger, greed, scattered mind, whatever. So any kind of emotion, right, states of mind that arise also can be put into practice, can practice impermanent suffering, non-self can reflect. So somebody asks, a person no, don't have jhanas can practice not? Can practice. Common states of mind can practice. Right? So I gave a sutta example earlier. This Asubha Sutta. Yeah, there are two sort of modes, pleasant and unpleasant modes of practice. So the Buddha was mentioning if a person practice this Asubha meditation only, then this is the painful part, the unpleasant part, but can reach enlightenment. Right? But if a person practice jhanas or concentration, that is the pleasant part. Right? So no, there are different methods. Okay, then far or near. Right? So it's the same as internal, external. So it can be near, within yourself, and far, right? Far away. So some people think meditation is just here and now, right here, right now. Of course, depends on the context how you see it. Some people can just look at somebody's funeral, somebody's corpse, and they reflect, and they can get realization. See, it's far away, not even near to you. Can be from a television screen or just hearsay only. Hear a report or somebody pass away, so on and so forth, and they reflect on life, meaning of life, and then they have certain realizations. Okay, so these are the various, we call it the cognitive functions. So why we do all the various kinds of meditations we did earlier is to train various cognitive function. Like earlier on, the first meditation we did is the Asubha meditation, the impurities of the body. So requires some visualization, think of the hair, think of the head, think of your teeth, your nails, your skin, some visualization. So it's within, like in your brain, right? Your mind. So it works like as a control, just like in our daily life, we need to worry and plan. So a lot of things is visual. We need to imagine the problem, imagine the scenario. So using that sort of picture or visualization of whatever problems we plan, how can we practice detachment, right? So when we practice the Asubha meditation, is actually using our body as a control, our body parts as a control. So we use this, we train, day in, day out, every day. Then hopefully we can bring it to daily life scenario, right? When we worry and think, how to apply loving kindness to whatever you visualize or problems you're planning, and how to practice impermanence, right? Seeing this as you change and decay, whatever not. So this is a way of letting go. So it is the first phase. The second kind of meditation we did was breath, right? And breath meditation. We did some focusing, right? So when let's say looking at the screen or when we are reading something, right? Sometimes we sort of focus on something. We are narrowing our attention, restricting this attention to one spot. So this is actually training the mind. When it's fixing at one spot, can you practice detachment? Right. So this is the second kind of training. Of course, we did something further. We went to different jhanas. Right. There is added supplement. We charge your battery of the mind. And the third kind of thing we are doing earlier on is the radiate of loving kindness. We send to different directions. So in life, we need to, sometimes we cross the street, we need to look across the road, look at different directions. So how to practice paying attention in any direction without creating any stress, how to practice detachment in a different direction. So all these are sort of different application. So one more kind of meditation that we didn't do is actually this undirected or Vipassana kind of meditation. So hopefully after the lecture, after this talk, you get a chance to practice this Vipassana kind of meditation, right? So the idea of this undirected meditation is when the mind is scattered, when it's relaxed, can it still practice detachment? So this is the actually one of the highest form of practice when the mind is not doing anything, still can be detached, right? All the previous exercises require the mind to fix on something, require the mind to generate something, right? So the the mind when it's scattered and relaxed and doing nothing, that is we are training, right, the mind to be unconditioned. So that is the not easy, requires certain foundation of samadhi first before doing it. If not, it's no different from daydreaming. Very easy to enter into daydreaming mode. Okay, so I will move on to the next slide. Okay, so we are going to talk about physical preparation, right? Should have talked about this earlier. So, but never mind. This is for your own practice, right? Because next week we have another retreat. So this is for you all to sort of prepare and practice yourself how to sit properly and whatever not. So we have a few kinds of preparations. Important is light meals, right? Because if you have heavy meals, the next thing we know is all the blood will rush to the digestive system. Not enough blood goes to the brain, and everyone will be like sleeping, right? So some people sleep there after the meditation. They say, "Oh, I feel so refreshed," meditation so calm, so relaxed, so refreshing. Actually, they're sleeping, right? So important to calm down the mind. Yeah, very important. Okay, then next is if you want to sit on the floor, right? Make sure you have comfortable clothing. A lot of people, some people wear jeans, tight jeans or whatever. Not then they sit down for a while, only leg numb, leg cramp, cannot feel the leg, right? Not because you enter samadhi, but because the blood cannot flow, right? Then you have all these numbness and pain and whatever not. So some comfortable clothing is important. And if you have free time, yeah, please do some stretching, right? You try the walking, meditation, stretching, keep the blood circulation going. When you stretch the muscles, then you won't feel tense. Sitting down for long hours can be quite harmful, right, to the body. And the next one is, yeah, this is for those who come in my meditation class before the lockdown. Yeah, handphone turn to silent mode, right? And empty your pockets. You sit down, make sure your pockets is free from your keys, your wallet, and whatever not. Sometimes you put in the back pocket, then you sit down, then your backside will be lopsided, one up, one down, right? So you feel uncomfortable and whatever not. So this is a few kind of preparations. Okay, next. Okay, next we are going to talk about the meditation postures. Meditation postures. So we are going to first talk about the top right pictures, right? Top right pictures. We talk about the back. So if you are seated in, be it a chair or on the floor, it's important to take note of the spine, right? The whole idea is the tip is we call it to have an effortless upright posture. One of the ways is to tilt the lower spine forward a bit, maybe 1 degree or half a degree, whatever. Then you can find the center of gravity, right? Natural center of gravity. So you don't require a lot of core muscles, don't require six-pack abs, yeah, to sit up straight, right? You tilt in a way where where your body is naturally upright. Okay, this is, let's say if you have back injury, right? If you have back injury, then you might consider leaning on something. But if let's say you don't have any back injury and you want to prevent back injury, this is one of the way, right? You keep an important back upright. If you slouch and hunch for too long, then you have back injury. You develop backaches. Right? So this is nothing ritualistic. Is all these safety precautions. Okay, then if we look at the bottom row, okay, so all these are sitting on the floor techniques, right? So if on the left, if you are very flexible, then you can try sitting full lotus posture. So you can emulate a lot of the Buddha statues, both legs being crossed on both thighs, on top of both thighs, right? So the benefit of this posture would be all the parts of your feet, right? Your thighs and your calves will be touching the ground. That means there's a wide surface area. So it's a very balanced posture, very stable and balanced posture. So this is the plus point, right? And of course, you need to be flexible. If not, the drawback will be it'll be very painful, excruciating pain to those who are not flexible, right? So the whole idea of the posture is to find a comfortable sitting so that it at least can last you for some time. But no matter which posture you sit, sure we have pain one because we have nervous system. Even lying down and sleeping, you sleep for for a certain period of time, also we have pain, right? So this is the nature of the body, right? You can't be free from pain. So the whole idea is to find a posture that is comfortable enough that can sort of allay the pain slightly longer. All right, so this is the full lotus. And then if you cannot do the full lotus, we have a 50% discount for you. So we have half lotus, right? Half lotus doesn't require both feet on top of both thighs. You just have one. So either the left or the right, up to you. I don't really care about the posture. Some purposely must be the right leg on top of the left, whatever. So to me, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So either left or the right on top, right? So the drawback will be you feel lopsided. You feel lopsided. And a lot of times, because when you sit one leg up, when one of the knees up, it will cause some imbalance. So you require a cushion in your back, right, to keep your spine upright. So this is half lotus. You require a sitting meditation cushion to lift up your backside, right? So this is the half lotus. Okay, then if you still cannot do the half lotus, more discount for you, then we move to the third picture on the right. So we have the Burmese style sitting. I call it the parallel parking, right? Both feet parallel to each other. You don't need any feet above each other, right? So this is called the parallel parking. Both feet parallel to each other, right? So both feet on the ground. So it's also a very stable posture, right? Quite, I think it's even better than the full lotus. Doesn't require that much flexibility and a lot of stability, right? So this is the one of the plus points, right? But if you still cannot do it, if you still cannot do it and you do not have other equipment like the stool or a chair, then you sit normally. If let's say you're sitting on the ground, then you sit normally. If you're not flexible, you sit normally, right? So if you look at the first picture, the full lotus, right? So if a person sit normally, that means both feet on the ground, right? Instead of on the thigh, both feet on the ground. So this is normally how most people sit. But because you attend meditation class, right? So people ask you, what kind of posture you sit. You say, I sit normally, Lord. Then sometimes a bit embarrassing, right? So you don't want to lose face, so you give yourself a new professional name to the sitting posture. So instead of saying you sit normally, you say you sit full lotus inverted posture or inverted full lotus posture. Sounds more professional or sounds more cool, right? So people will be wondering, hey, what kind of yoga posture you're sitting, man? What kind of full lotus inverted posture, right? So instead of both feet up, you sit both feet down, right? So this is your normal sitting. So you tell people, I sit full lotus inverted, right? So people think, wow, you do some advanced yoga pose, right? So no. Okay, so next one, we move to the next one. If you have a stool, then you can, this is more like the Zen style, Mahayana tradition, they have this stool, right? So this is for sitting. And the last one, of course, on the chair, which most of you right now, if you're on Zoom, on the internet platform, most people on the chair, most modern city people, right? They spend lots of hours sitting on a chair. So some people say, meditate, cannot sit for so long, people in the office sit for so many hours on a chair. We sit for so many hours. If you go to a cinema, watch a movie, we can sit 2 hours straight, no problem, right? I watch a television show, sit for hours, no problem. Or some of the younger generation that play video games can sit for hours and hours. no problem. They come to meditation, yeah, sit for pain ready lah, must shift lah, must move lah, you know, must do this, must do that, must get out of meditation. So a lot of problems. So a lot of time is, again, right thoughts. If your meditation technique, the mental technique is correct, it will keep you engaged, right? But of course, in my meditation lesson, the takeaway is every moment, right thought. Yeah, right effort, right mindfulness. I don't really emphasize on the sitting. Right, sitting is important, yes, for your R&D, for calming down. Yeah, certain research, you know, to evaluate yourself. But the real practice is your daily life. I can give an example. Let's say a person, let's say learn martial arts, right? Let's say they go to a dojo, maybe karate, whatever it is. So they learn the moves, right? How to punch, how to kick, how to defend themselves, and maybe they try to hit the punching bag. So all these are very static kind of training. So like what we are doing, you know, sitting meditation, doing all the routines, doing Asubha meditation, all these are standard routine moves, right? The real practice, right? I mean, the real fight, real challenge comes when we are out there, right? When doing self-defense or even in competition. If let's say the martial artist send you for competition, you know, you have to fight opponent. So that is the real test of your martial arts. So the real meditation challenge would be right now, every moment, right? When we face problems, when we face the people around you, face stress at work. So all these are real day-to-day life scenario issues. So when we talk about, you know, training different cognitive functions, yeah, so all these are preparing for this. So eventually, when we talk about somebody asks a question on the last moment of death, so are we ready? You know, last moment of death. So don't talk about last moment of death right now, or even in life when you face certain crises here and there. Are you even ready, right? So yeah, so this is the short takeaway. So my takeaway is every moment, right? Maintain right thought. Okay, so I end this talk. Any other slides after this? If no more,
That's
then
the end of the slide, Bhante.
yeah. So you have a Q&A. Anybody can ask any questions.
Bhante, is it guided first or Q&A first?
Oh, okay. There's a guided segment. Okay, then we do the guided meditation first. All right. Okay. So now we are doing meditation undirected. So for those who have gone through the previous sitting, you know, at least they charge the mind up. Because the samadhi is actually temporary, right? So it depends on how you maintain your mind. So like if a person were to maintain loving kindness all the way, is like a power saving mode. Yeah? You save the power, but if you don't do it, then you drain all the energy. Then we might need to recharge the mind. But before we do the full routine, right? I'll just do straight away this undirected mind, right? So probably the next session, then we can do the full routine from the first phase, the Asubha, second, concentration, third, which is now what we are doing, this undirected meditation, and then eventually the loving kindness. All right, so now we are just doing the Vipassana meditations alone. So for those who can follow, then you try to follow. If you cannot follow, then try your best, right? Okay, so yeah, so this one can be done either in seated meditation or walking meditation, right? Any posture also can be done. So if you want to close your eyes, you may do so. If you want to half close your eyes and gaze downwards also, you may do so. So in this exercise, what we are doing is we're actually trying to sort of uncondition the mind. Right? So the mind is actually now in a scattered mode, which is we are not doing anything to the mind. That means we are not directing the mind anywhere. So basically, we let the mind be free, right? We let the mind autopilot, sort of let the mind run wild. But we need to do something. I call it contact tracing. Right? Nothing to do with the pandemic. But this contact tracing is basically to trace our six sense contact. Right? We have our eye contact, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind contact. So our attention will move around through these six doors: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Right? So we are going to basically understand or try to observe how this attention move around through these six avenues, six doors. So I give an example, right? If I am talking right now, most probably your attention is to my sound. But if I stop talking, where is your attention now? Right? So every moment you have to ask yourself, where is your attention now? Where is your attention now? Right? So you need to keep track of your attention without deliberately exerting your mind, without directing your attention anywhere. So the whole idea is to be a passive observer, right? Because you have to truly understand the nature of the mind. So the more natural, the better. So for beginners, I would recommend observing the four elements because there is something more obvious. You want to talk about this mental formation and this maybe the other more subtle things, sometimes harder to catch. Actually, there are 5 in 1. So you just observe one of the elements, something obvious, right? Can be the 4 elements: earth, fire, wind, water. So like we covered earlier, just a short, brief rerun. The earth element will be anything hard and soft, right? Fire, the temperature, warm and cold. Wind is the movement, fast and slow movements. Water being the moisture, moist or dry. Right? So these are the various sensations. Right? So that is if our using our sense of touch, we can observe these sensations. If we are hearing something, what is the contact in our ear, our eardrums. So I would like to give a metaphor, an example, how to be a passive observer. Just a metaphor, right? Imagine like a documentary film, for example, an Animal Planet, right? Some nature documentary. So being a passive observer is something like being a cameraman, right? We are trying to film an animal, trying to understand the animal, maybe say a wild monkey, right? So our mind, our attention is something like wild monkey, running here, running there, jumping from tree to tree. So the whole idea being a cameraman is just to observe, right? Just to understand. You want to understand the nature, that means we don't interfere, we just observe, right? How the monkey behaves. Sometimes after through this observation, then you have more understanding towards the monkey. So that's the whole purpose of the exercise. And once in a while, there are some new documentaries where the host will try to interfere, will try to capture the monkey or wrestle the animal. And usually in the process, they get injured, they get beaten by the animal, they get bleeding and whatever not. So these are the newer kind of documentaries. And this is like most of the time, right? When we observe something, then we try to interfere, try to react, right? Then we have all these issues, all these sufferings, all these problems, right? So the whole idea is to be a passive observer and don't try to be like a Steve Irwin, right, try to interfere. So to further narrow down the investigation, right, we can use 3 reminders or 3 questions, right, to remind ourselves what to look out for, right, what to look out for. Because sometimes too wide, what to look out, very, very blur, right, what to observe. So the first question we can ask, using our own personal observation or this personal evidence, right, is our attention, right? Is it permanent or impermanent by itself? Right? If you don't interfere, by nature, is it permanent or impermanent? So, this is your attention. Or within the attention, right? You have the 5 aggregates, right? Are the 5 aggregates permanent or impermanent? So this is the first question. And the second question would be, are these 5 aggregates, right? Is this mind truly self? Is it truly yours? Is it truly you? Do you have total control over the 5 aggregates, over this mind? Can you tell the form and the temperature to be cooling forever, or to be warm forever? Right? Can you tell the feelings to be pleasant forever? Or can you tell your attention, right, to stay at one place forever? Right. So this is the second question: is it truly self? Do you have total control over these 5 aspects of the mind, or these 5 aggregates? And question number 3, if you try to control the mind, you try to exert control over the mind, will there be suffering compared to not controlling? So this aspect of meditation, this undirected attention, is basically to sort of gather wisdom, right? Squeezing wisdom out of the observations. So how does one know whether you're doing it in the right direction? So the more you observe impermanence, and sort of letting go, the mind should calm down, right? So earlier on, when we have the samatha practice, we talk about the mind settling down to stability point, right? There's actually desire, right? The desire getting lower and set the mind settling, the formations settling or reducing. So that is using one point. So now at a wide area, when the mind is not focused, not directed, can the mind practice detachment and continue to settle? Maybe some meditation, or other some people when they meditate, they want to look out for impermanence or changes of the how the mind arise, where is the starting point, and whatever not. So the more they want to look, yeah, then the more stress, lots of expectation. So all these are actually perceptions, right? They are not a requirement. The whole idea is the letting go process. If a person's mind is not subtle and they cannot observe, right, the mind and matter, the difference, the mental energy, whatever you call it, right, then doesn't matter. The whole idea is the detachment. If a person can observe, right, the subtle differences between the mental energy and the body, but they cling on to the mind, try to observe the mind, more stress. No letting go. So once you're able to calm down the mind, yeah, once you're able to calm down the mind, then you can extend the practice. I mean, condition yourself, right, to extend this practice to other aspects of life. Like, for example, walking, right? So if you sit down, you can maintain detached, then you can practice walking, right? So if you want, you can try walking meditation with this frame of mind. How can the mind be sort of undirected and even walking, right? So you can practice that. So without no directing the mind, and you do walking meditation. And this is coming towards the end of the day. Some people are tired, right? And one of the recommendations to avoid this drowsiness is actually walking meditation, right? So if let's say a person really no energy, right? Sitting also can, you feel sleepy, then you can do walking meditation. Yeah, so when you walk, then you can observe, your wherever your attention naturally goes. So let's say if you're walking, most probably your attention goes to your feet. Sometimes goes to where your path on where you're walking, right? So the whole idea is to understand how your attention move around, observe the elements, 4 elements. Then you slowly extend this range from walking to all your daily chores in your daily life. And what we can do now is, again, we can use whatever, right, we've learned from this insight meditation, and we can even extend further, right, from undirected mind. Then we infuse into loving kindness. That means even when directing the mind in a certain direction, how can you do it in a detached manner, right? So using whatever, you observe the 5 aggregates and impermanence, we are going to now direct this attention in front. So we're going to wish all beings in front, may they be well and happy. So the challenge is, how to be truly well and happy, right? Earlier on, we talked about controlling the mind or stress, right? So yeah, how to direct the mind without stress. So this is the challenge. So there's no need to visualize any person, right? We just have a general concept. We all beings in front, we well and happy. So when we think in front, are you still able to observe, right, these 5 aggregates and these impermanence? And how to direct the mind in front without exertion. And then we come back to ourselves. Next, we are going to wish all beings behind, may they be well and happy. And then we come back to ourselves. Doing loving kindness should actually be a very joyful process. Some people do it with a long face. That means something is wrong already. I must adjust the thoughts. I must have right thought. Yeah, that means clinging on to something or holding on to some preconceived idea, right? So the whole idea is to be a passive observer. That means not to cling on a previous experience, right? Not to hold on to a previous perception. Right? Whatever, when you pay attention to a certain direction, whatever happens, let it happen, by itself. Yeah, so we come back to ourselves, and then now we wish all beings on the left, may they be well and happy. And then we come back to ourselves, and we wish all beings on the right, may they be well and happy. And then we come back to ourselves, and now we wish all beings above, may they be well and happy. And then we come back to ourselves, and we wish may all beings below be well and happy. And then we come back to ourselves, This time we wish our entire body well and happy, from head to toe. And we wish this entire body well and happy. Fill this whole body with loving kindness, every cell, every pore. And eventually we radiate this loving kindness in all directions, above, below, and all across. And may all beings, we start first with this, your house, yeah? We wish all beings at home be well and happy. Still mindful of impermanence, mindful of being at ease. And we extend the loving kindness to your neighborhood. And may all beings in the entire neighborhood be well and happy. And then we extend this loving kindness to the entire country. May all beings in this country be well and happy. And then we extend this loving kindness to the whole world. May all beings on planet Earth be well and happy. And eventually we wish all beings in the entire universe, may all beings be well and happy. and be one with this loving kindness. Okay, so you maintain this boundless loving kindness, right? Be it standing, walking, sitting, or lying down. Right? So this again reminder from the Karanya Metta Sutta. So this is like a power saving mode, huh? Yeah, to prevent a person lose all their samadhi. So if you are ready, then you can maintain this mindfulness or loving kindness and gently open your eyes. Right, so physically we may end the formal sitting, but mentally, right, we're still meditating. Right, so actually meditation is all around the clock concept. To break the stereotype, yeah, meditation is not just sitting or walking, the formal walking, yeah, but throughout the day. Okay, so yeah, and a bit early, so have more time for Q&A, right? This is the last segment of the retreat. Right? So have more time for people to throw in any questions.
Bhante, I got a few questions.
Oh, yes.
The first one concerning the state of concentration that Bhante went through. Concentration 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that one refers to the jhana 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
So Bhante was asking us to remember the emotion.
Yeah.
The emotion that we experience from one level to the next level. Would that remembering the emotion become a form of attachment that in our sitting we will always want to like recollect back that same set of emotion?
Yeah, the whole idea of remembering the emotion is to distinguish from level to level. Yeah, so there's the something to compare and contrast, right? But of course, every time we sit, there's different depths and whatever, not depending on conditions, right? So the whole idea is just a rough guide, is to compare the different levels. That's all. Yeah.
But our tendency tend to be, trying to get back to the same level, isn't it? Like each sitting that we do.
Yeah, correct. There's
we always just clinging on to that thing, and we want to we have the experience. The second day when we sit, we don't get it, we get demotivated. That day we try again. You tend to be. So is there a remedy to overcome those kind of?
The remedy is actually mindful of the impermanence of the breath, right? So that will help the mind to have this detachment. Every time the mind want to expect to have something, then the mind will be restless again, will be stressed again. So the whole idea is to keep on being mindful of the process. Then the byproduct, whatever calmness or whatever pleasant emotion that manifests or appear, and that will be the byproduct of the reflection of impermanence.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Then the level of concentration, once we have obtained it all, or we have reached it, is it a permanent state, or is it something that we will have to like, once we have it, is it permanent, or is it we loses it?
It's a temporary recharge, right? It's a temporary recharge because there is only a state when the mind is unified. So once we come back to this sort of worldly, the sense spheres, the mind will scatter again. So it's basically using up battery. Yeah.
Right.
So the mind will sort of scatter again, and once in a while you need to recharge. Yeah, enter these concentrations.
Okay. Then the last one is on the radiation of loving kindness. Bhante always says that when we have done one part of it, like radiate to our neighbors and all that,
Yeah.
and then we come back to ourselves. So is that coming back to ourselves, we are radiating it to us, or what did we do during that time?
So basically, it's to bring this attention back to ourselves. That means we don't extend to that direction anymore. Right.
So during the time we radiate it to ourselves, is it? We wish
correct.
ourselves well and happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Okay, Bhante, there's a question
Yep.
from Facebook.
Okay.
How do we practice mindfulness or metta meditation in our working life when dealing with arrogant superior and uncooperative subordinates? Our mind tend to be agitated when dealing with such people in such negative situation. Not easy to spread metta and be mindful.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Right. This issue can be found anywhere. Right. Not just in workplace, at home. Sometimes even in temple. Yeah. You come to temple, might face some such people. Right. So the whole idea is to again first we try to maintain as much this right thought as possible. Sometimes when unwholesome states arise, then we need to put in the right effort, right, to generate this right thought. Of course, this is within. We call it kind of supra mundane way of dealing things. That means dealing from the spiritual direction. But then there's a circular way also of handling the situation, which is how to have diplomacy, negotiation skills, how to converse, how to talk in a way and discuss, how to negotiate and compromise, whatever it is. So all these are circular methods, right? Circular methods. So you need to have a moderation of both. So if I give an extreme example, let's say a person has no skill in circular method, no skill in the diplomacy or negotiation, right? So they straight away don't talk, hits on it's on quarrel and whatever not, right? Then of course inside then you have to struggle a lot to deal with the emotion, right? So not easy, which require a lot of kung fu, right? Internal skill to overcome it, right? So I would recommend a moderation of both. So internally, you maintain this sort of mindfulness of this loving kindness, and externally also, you can try to figure out, have a sit down and chit chat, and find the correct time to have coffee together, whatever it is, to sort things out. So you need the circular aspect, find out what's the real problem, and then there's also the spiritual aspect, the real another real problem, which is from the mind, right? So there's a circular problem, you try to solve it, and there's also a internal, the spiritual root problem. So we try to be moderation of both, right? Okay, any other questions?
Bhante, I'm a beginner in this meditation, so
Okay.
I just got a question from my friend when I invited them to join this session. They say, "What's the purpose of meditation?" How would I answer them? I mean, what would be the approach to explain to them about the benefits of meditation so that they will want to take up the practice?
A lot of times it has to come from them, you know. Do they want to find peace? You know, do they want to, you know, have some find out about self-discovery, overcome stress, these kind of related issues, you know, that's in line with the Four Noble Truths, right? So if they do not have the inclination, do not have the demand or the desire, then no point. You cannot force people, right? So even yeah, so this is the issue. Only for monastics we might know, because in our monastic rules we have 16 precepts when teaching Dhamma. 16 precepts when teaching Dhamma or sharing Dhamma, right? So basically, when a person they give a lot of metaphors. If a person is holding a weapon, you cannot teach Dhamma to them. Oh, that means if they're hostile, that means if their mind is they don't like you, whatever, you cannot teach Dhamma to them. If they're wearing a hat, no, if they're smarter than you, cannot teach them. If they're holding a walking stick, that means they're older than you, also cannot teach them. So a lot of condition, right? So basically everything also cannot teach unless they ask you. That means they want to learn. No? They have a desire, they have a demand. No, there's a demand and supply, right? So they invite you or they ask you, then you can share, then you can no, teach them. If they do not have, no, their life is going very well, everything is fine, and you start to tell them, hey, life is suffering, you know, then they, what rubbish, go away.
So could I just give a very simple answer by saying it gives us peace of mind and help to distress? Is that what you're saying, is it?
Yeah, that could be one way, yeah. And your answer, yeah.
My answer, yes, my answer. Because they asked me, I mean, their question is like, what is the purpose? Why do people meditate?
Yeah, I have many reasons, but of course the main one would be no, distress, yeah.
I can't tell them about enlightenment and stuff like that. So
Yeah, depends on the inclination also, yeah.
okay, thank you, Sadhu.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Bhante, there's one question.
Yeah.
In the first jhana,
Yeah.
there are 5 qualifying levels. So
Yeah.
does it mean all 5 must present or fewer than 5 would suffice once attainment of the jhana?
That will come from a very theoretical point of view. So once a person has been instructed, no, it's a skill set. Once they experience it, then they have to practice going up and down and slowly distinguish the different factors, right? Then they can compare. So because it's an emotion, so very hard to put into words, right? So only when a person experience it, so hopefully they went through the previous session, you know, on entering the different levels. So if they miss it, they can replay the segment, and they can repeat and practice over and over again if they wish, so that they can experience it. Of course, in your own free time, each level you can do it for a longer duration, right? So right now, because of a group setting, I just give the instruction in brief. So of course, each level you want to do longer, you want to do half an hour, 1 hour, up to you, right? So this one is, for my case, it's just a few minutes and have a small taste of it, then you move on to the next level, right? Okay, next question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Anthony, louder, please.
Okay, I think I have to
Can't
go
hear you.
nearer to the mic. The question is about this meditation objects. There were,
Yeah.
you mentioned there were 40 over objects.
Yeah.
So should we try every one of it so that we know which is the right meditation object for us? And then second question is, we have actually met up with a few monks and ajahns and on the net, as well as, we had Zoom with them and so on. So they have different techniques in meditation.
Yeah.
So what is the view of Bhante on this? Different types of meditation techniques.
Yeah, okay. So for the Buddha himself, he just used the breath meditation, right, to reach enlightenment. So after understanding the 5 aggregates, then basically any meditation object is actually a 5 aggregate, right? The kasina is a kind of perception, right? The impurities of the body is also a kind of perception, part of 5 aggregates. So the breath is also a kind of perception, part of the 5 aggregates. So once you master one technique, let's say a person travel all the way, they reach the top of the mountain, they reach the goal. Then when they look down or look at different direction, then they can see the different pathways up to the mountain, right? Then they can reverse engineer the different meditation objects. So it's easier, right? But if a person, let's say they haven't reached the top of the mountain, depending lah, if let's say you try one method, then you stuck, then you try, still stuck for for some time, then you can try different method, no problem, right? Then you try different method, and let's say you have progress, and progress, then you stuck, right? You stuck halfway. Then never mind, you try another method, then you progress, right? So yeah, that's during the Buddha's time also the same thing. That's why the Buddha tried different teachers when he was practicing asceticism. His great disciples also the same thing, and within the monastic community, the monks in the Buddha's time also look for one elder disciple to another. They look for one elder disciple, they receive instruction, practice, no improvement, then they look for another senior monk, right, for instruction, no improvement, and then they look for the Buddha. But sometimes the Buddha not around. India is so big, and the Buddha walk when he travel. Where is he? Last time no telephone, no Zoom, right? So they cannot find the Buddha, right? So they have to. The next best person is to look for another senior monk. So that was the problem also last time. So every person have their own preference, right? Every senior monk have their own preference. They like certain method works for them, right? So it works for them, then they just share what they know with you, right? So if it works for you, good. If it doesn't work for you, then they may or may not have the skill like the Buddha, right? The Buddha sometimes, he can maybe see your past life, or maybe read your mind, whatever it is. Then he can give the proper meditation object to you, right?
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, no problem. Okay, any other questions?
Bhante, you have given us the directed, undirected practice. So
Yeah.
from that, what is the general composition of this directed, undirected in our daily practice? Let's say, do we do 50-50, 60-40, or we just stay directed most of the time, undirected most of the time? How do we segment this directed, undirected practice on our daily basis?
Yeah, it's up to individual. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. Is totally up to your time management. Yeah, and also your sort of lifestyle. If let's say your life have a lot of work, then of course you have lesser time, right, for the directed meditation. But let's say if a person is maybe semi-retired, living like a yogi, right, then a lot of time to to experiment and enter deeper states of concentration, then by all means, yeah.
But because I've been using breath for a long time,
Yep.
so even I was trying to do the undirected, I
Yeah.
tend to get hooked up on the breath while we're supposed to experience the feeling and all the other things, the
Yeah.
undirected version.
Yeah.
But the mind tend to be like, the mind seems to be directed towards the breath more than, like trying to follow Bhante's instruction of, feeling everything.
Automatically it likes to come back, right?
Yeah, you always go back to a breath, So while you are just like that, the breath becomes the leading object, So you just be doing in out, rather than But periodically, I will try to like stand it out to sense the sitting position or the pain, or. But you know, the breath seems to be the main attraction.
Okay. Yeah. So if let's say you're really used to fixing the mind because or maybe long years of practice, then the breath meditation itself is also that's why we talk about in tandem, right? There's actually both Vipassana elements in the micro attention. There's a micro birth and death, right? So every breath moment. So there's a combination of both samatha and Vipassana actually in the breath practice, right?
Okay.
So if you want to practice unconditioned, slowly extend out, then you can start off with feeling with the from a small parameter, then extend to a wider parameter, which is the body, right? So after the body, then you can extend further to the six senses: hearing, smelling, seeing, tasting, etc. Right?
Thanks, Bhante.
Okay, no problem. Any other questions?
There's one.
Yeah.
Bhante, how true is it that the metta meditation doesn't lead to enlightenment?
These usually are the misconceptions from the post-canonical books, right? Then they have the, for example, let's say the Visuddhimagga, they'll tell you, oh, loving kindness can maximum reach third jhana, for example, right? Whereas a lot of the suttas talk about the four Brahma Viharas, can reach enlightenment, right? And the four Brahma Viharas can also directly, if you talk about concentration, can immediately go to the formless concentrations first. So there's a lot of this contradiction between the post-canonical manual and the original suttas, right? A lot of contradiction, right? So, so these contradictions, especially when I talk about giving instructions, some people, if they are not well informed, then they thought, oh yeah, this is the only way. Then the manual will tell you, oh, this meditation can maximum reach here. They need to push in U-turn and try another thing and whatever not. So may obstruct them in a certain way, right? May obstruct them in a certain way, right? So I can give the links to you later. Yeah, in fact, in my Facebook, my background photo, right? I have this make appointment online meditation, and in the commentary, I mean in the comments, there's a website to my Facebook notes on my Facebook that talks about meditation resource. So there's a lot of links that talk about even the four Brahma Viharas, able to reach the seven factors of enlightenment and even liberation, right?
All right.
Okay.
Next is, would Bhante encourage beginners in meditation practice to meditate in the graveyard or by the corpse to remind them of death? Would it be advisable to spread metta in a graveyard to the spirits there?
Yeah, like this graveyard meditation has been interesting, probably a social gathering or even fundraising activity for some Buddhist organizations. Like earlier on, right from the beginning of the talk, I talked about the Meghiya Sutta, the example, not recommended for beginners. If let's say you want to go alone, right, not encouraged. If your foundation is not there, your mind, you do not know how to stay mindful even from day-to-day life. You want to try adventure, then there's no different from going for adventure camp. Like even for guys in Singapore, we have national compulsory national service. We also go to the forest, right? So not really a big deal, and it ends up becoming like an adventure thrill, right? Some people go to escape theme parks. They go to certain theme parks with a lot of horror, try to escape the room, and that kind of stuff. So not much difference. It ends up becoming like a social or entertainment kind of activity. So it depends on your mindset. So the whole idea is get your framework right, right? Once the mental programming is correct, you know how to practice, sense restraint, moment to moment, then wherever you go, then it's no issue, right? So this is more important, the mental conditioning. Yeah.
Anything else from the floor?
I think the question that there's a second part to the question that Terence just read out. This brother asked whether it is advisable to send metta to spirits in the graveyard. Is it a good idea? Like we go for Qing Bing, is it a good idea to radiate metta to all these spirits living around there if there are?
Yeah, so when we radiate, the original instruction, from the suttas, right, is radiate metta to all beings, right, to all beings. So wherever you go, right, be it a forest, in a cemetery, in a graveyard, or even at home, right, it's good to have this practice, radiate loving kindness to all beings, right? So the whole idea is first have a good foundation. That means we practice loving kindness without attachment. Not easy, but no, that's why you need to keep practicing over and over again. Not wait until the last moment, last moment when people face trouble or face crisis, then start to think of maybe the Buddha's name or think of loving kindness, whatever object you're told to practice. Then you last minute, Chinese say 临时抱佛脚, right? Last minute, then start to hug the Buddha's leg, right? There's this Chinese idiom, right? So we don't do this. So we consistently, practice. So in daily life, we face whatever situation, be it a scary situation, stressful situation, depressing situation, whatever it is, can we have equanimity, right, in the midst of the vicissitudes of life, ups and downs of life. So once we able to have a firm equipoise, the mind's equal, then you can sometimes even want to challenge yourself, and you purposely want to go to forest, purposely want to go graveyard. This requires certain level of maturity first, spiritual maturity. Then you can test yourself. If not, then every day is actually a test. Right? We take every day as a test first. Right? So let's say, you have a family function, a Qing Bing function, want to go to graveyard, then no problem, you can go attend, no issue. Right?
I'm just wondering whether the Taoists have this tampantang larang thing. So if we go to graveyard and start radiating metta or chanting, will these spirits follow us home or not? Because they like us so much, they want to hear the chanting, they love the metta, then they will follow us home.
Handsome ghost, is it, Angie?
Yeah, a lot of stories you hear, people get possessed by such things. I'm not sure.
Okay, if you are practicing well, that means you have you keep your precepts, then you practice meditation consistently. Then, in fact, who knows, even right now, there are beings surrounding you, right? So these are what we call the guardian spirits, guardian deities. So nothing wrong to have more, right? The more the merrier, actually.
Okay.
It's better to have the good ones than if a person left unguarded, then the unwholesome ones will get you, right? So for heavenly beings, right? Normally we say the earth-bound deities will be the first responders. They're the first responders. So like these deities, because they sort of have a long lifespan and they are supposed to be, free from poverty, free from, they don't need to have charity. So they do not know where to look for doing good. Because up there, where got poor, where got hungry, right? So the next best place to go to is the human realm. Next best place to go to is human realm. So among the humans, are they supposed to help the unwholesome people or the wholesome people, right? To make merit. So the wise choice is to look for the wholesome people to invest, right? So if you consistently practice doing good, think of wholesome thoughts, right speech, right action, whatever not, then they will invest more of these beings will invest in you, right? So it's nothing wrong if they follow you, right? in a good way, yeah? If you're wholesome,
But
they follow you.
what happens if the unwholesome spirits follow? Then how?
Then the good ones will be your bouncer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's the reason of having the guardian deities, because there are unwholesome deities. In the accounts of this Atanatiya Sutta, right? The four heavenly kings they mentioned, even the spirits, not all of them are good. Right? Even Mara also not good, right? So you need more good guardian deities. Some of the earth spirits, not all of them are wholesome. Some of them are predatory species, right? Maybe they feed on your blood or feed on your maybe life force, right? So these are things happening. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
There's a question from Brother Kelvin Oi.
Okay.
Dear Bhante, while observing breath in and out, the focus on the nostrils, but the breath reaches the abdomen. Thus, this breath depth at the abdomen is nonetheless rising and falling. Vipassana. Kindly correct my perception. Thank you.
Okay. If let's say a person is already used, right? Already used to practicing using the abdomen as the point of focus, then you carry on from there. No problem, right? That is, it's just a guide. If a person is, let's say they're new, my recommendation will be still below the nostril, above the upper lip. So that will be a smaller point of contact, smaller point, because the abdomen is a larger area, the movements are larger. But of course, if you're already practicing it for many years, then it's easier for you to focus on that. And by all means, yeah.
Okay. The next is Brother Tam Wing Soon. Bhante, can merits be shared? I was told it can only be dedicated. Is it just a play of words?
Yeah, it's got to do with translation and interpretation. That means and how you perceive, right, understanding. So I still feel that dedication of marriage should be a proper term. You dedicate the marriage, then it's up to the individual being, right, that the unseen being or whatever it is, to receive the merit and the sort of they feel, they reciprocate the emotion or the mental frequency, and it's up to them to rejoice, right? So it's basically they create their own karma, right? Whatever karma you do, you are responsible for your karma. So that is the whole idea. Yep.
Okay, next. Kelvin Oy again. Bhante,
Okay.
is it an acceptable practice interchanging samatha and vipassana meditation in one sitting? Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I normally do in most of my meditation classes. Like for this retreat, because we break up into theory and practice into different segments. So we like sort of do one thing at a time. So for most of my other lessons, if let's say it's like one sitting at one go for maybe 1.5 hours or 2 hours, then there are various different modes of practices. But for what we've been through today, there's a lot of combination. There's a combination of both samatha and vipassana, let's say, in every object. Right? Even the asubha practice, we also observe the birth and death of your parts of the body. So that is a kind of vipassana also. Right? When we talk birth and death of the breath, that is also a kind of vipassana, right? So on and so forth. So there's a mixture. So it makes the one particular object of meditation more holistic, right?
Okay. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Brother Willie, Do you have anything?
Hi Bhante, there's a question from Facebook
Okay.
from Hai Eng. How do we recognize fake monks who teach meditation that to the extent of brainwashing the devotees to be their slave?
Okay, so monk, right, to know whether they are sort of real or fake is very subjective. So the in terms of Vinaya, they should have a proper ordination ceremony. That means they should have a preceptor, right? Somebody that ordained them, right? So at least this is the basic requirement. So if they are, let's say, a novice monk, let's say a 10 preceptor, one preceptor will do. If let's say they are a fully ordained monk, that means a bhikkhu, that means with more precepts, the 200 over precepts, then they should have at least a community of minimum 5 other monks. That means they have other witnessing monks in the ceremony, right? So in Buddhist countries, let's say in Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar, and so on, their religious department will issue out a monk's ID. That means after they sort of, they gone through a proper ordination ceremony, the preceptor will write into the religious department and they get all the paperwork done. Then they produce a certain booklet or something like a passport. They call it a monk's ID. So it contains all your monk's name, the time of ordination, the venue, who's your preceptor, so on and so forth. So all the details are in the booklet, right? So this is for Buddhist countries. So let's say for non-Buddhist countries, or let's say I give a rare example. Let's say certain Buddhist community. Let's say, for example, the Plum Village community, the Thich Nhat Hanh community. The monk being exiled. The community maybe not recognized in Vietnam, right? But they are legally ordained in terms of Vinaya. So they do not have a monk's ID. Yeah, interestingly, they do not have a monk's ID, but they have a proper ordination ceremony. So what you need to do is, you can inquire, of course, you ask at the right time. It sometimes can be a sensitive question, you ask, may I know who's your preceptor? Who are the monks that witness your ordination? So these things shouldn't be, they shouldn't be shy to talk about it. These are proper, legal ordinations. So again, sometimes can be geopolitical. Certain countries don't acknowledge another country's monastic ordination. For example, maybe China, they ban all the monastics from Taiwan, for example. That is a geopolitical issue. So even let's say all the Taiwanese, whatever, be it Tzu Chi or maybe Jing Kong Fa, whatever it is, they have their own ordination in their own country with their own community and whatever not. But let's say China don't acknowledge, for example. Yeah? So it can be geopolitical. So how do you know a monk is fake or not in terms of Vinaya? So you need to ask, who is your preceptor? This is the main thing. So if they have the record, right, and you can go and ask the preceptor to verify or the group of monks to verify the witnessing monks, then that is a proper ordination monk. And whether they follow the monastic rules properly, like for example, maybe brainwashing and using as slaves and imposing or demanding on layperson, that is another matter. So if they do break their or transgress the precepts, then it is up to their community to sort of have a meeting with the monk to ask for confession or have a follow-up and whatever not, right? So this is within the monks themselves to settle the precepts. But again, if let's say they, let's say commit a crime, right? Let's say, they brainwash the disciples and maybe now very popular, maybe had certain scandals going on, right? Maybe they cheat your money or maybe sex scandal, whatever, it's a crime, And you can't wait for the monks to settle themselves. And, if you think you need to report to the police, by all means, yeah. Okay, does it answer your question? Right, okay, yeah.
All right. Since it's about 6:30,
Okay.
DKC, Mr. President, you want to say something?
Okay, so today is already a long day, from morning 9 till 6. I think
Not
most
long,
of us
still around.
are still earlier, still earlier. This is very much like our face-to-face retreat, because when we have a face-to-face retreat, we walk through similar.
Can't hear.
When we have the face-to-face retreat, we also walk through similar kind of what do you call it, the processes and all that. We have Dharma sharing. After that, we have the meditation. We also take this long to complete a day's retreat. So, this is the first time we have this online experience. Hopefully, we can share this experience with more people, because most of them just don't find it, used to that online version. So how am I going to do meditation online? But today, I find it's very engaging, and
Yes, very good.
we can learn quite a lot about the different approaches and all that, because we might be limited to one style most of the time. So when we hear other monks sharing the other views, like directed, undirected, these are new words that we are hearing, because they always used to hear samatha, vipassana, samatha, and then we end up having two different schools challenging each other and say, I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong. So if you say directed, undirected, and incorporating both into that practice itself, seems to be something that is new to me. I think the rest I'm not sure, but it is pretty engaging. So on behalf of MSBS, I thank Bhante for your time, and
Okay.
we'll meet again next Saturday.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much for inviting me to the session.
Right. Yeah. So we'll say sadhu 3 times. Yeah. So
Okay.
Bhante,
Sadhu,
sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.
Willie, anything? Before we share the merits, we dedicate the merits.
Okay.
All right. There's not much happening in Facebook except for thank you, Bhante, for the wonderful sessions for today. We are really enjoying the explanations and the whole section itself.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bhante,
Okay.
can you see the screen now?
Okay.
Can
Yeah,
Bhante
can.
help to lead us in dedicate the merits and aspiration until we reach enlightenment?
Yeah. Okay. So this is dedication chant, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one person who joined, so it's just about to end.
Yeah.
Akasata cha bhumata devanaga mahidika punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakhantu loka sasanang etavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bhante, for the wonderful
Good
session.
evening. Okay, see you all next week.
Yeah, hope you all enjoyed the session like I did. Just a reminder, next week we'll be having the same session on part 2. Sorry, this one is
the Tuesday's
the
class.
Tuesday's class. That one is another slide. This one will be happening on the 21st after our session on the 18th. Yeah, the session on the 18th will be opening at the same time, around 9 a.m. Yeah, you can log in 10 minutes before. Yeah. Then before we end, we ask for forgiveness for any shortcoming. Yeah. by any unwholesome act, by body, speech, or mind, whether intentionally or unintentionally, Bhante.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, last but
All
not
right.
least, happy birthday again, Bhante.
Oh,
Happy
okay,
early
yeah.
birthday.
Early birthday. Thank you very much. Okay.
And those born
Sadhu,
in
yeah.
July.
Yeah, wish you all well and happy. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, Bhante.
Okay,
Wishing
we
Bhante
shall
good health and
Okay,
peace.
sadhu.
see you next Saturday. Hope
All right.
all of us will be here.
Cool.
Okay, this session has been shared by MSBS and Mudita. Is the co-organizer
Ah, okay.
for your info. Okay, we shall end here. Thanks
All right.
everyone for staying up until now. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Apakicco casallahukavutti Santindriyo ca nipako ca Apagabbo kulesu analugito Nachakutang samachare kinchi Yena vinyu pare upavadeyum Sukhino vakemino hontu Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata Ye kechipana bhutati tasavata bharava anavasesa Digavaye mahantava Majimarasaka anukatula Ditavaye cha adita Ye cha dure vasanti avedure Bhutava sambhave siva Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata Naro param nikubeta Nati manyeta kata chinam kinchi Bayaro sanapati gasanya Nanyamanya sadukamicheya Vatayata niyam puttam Ayusa eka puttamanurake Evam pisabhabutesu Manasambhavaye aparimanam Metancha sabbalokasmim Manasambhavaye aparimanam Udam adochatiriyancha Asambadam averam asapattam Titancharam nisinova Sayanova yavatassa vigatamido Ekam satim aditeya Brahmametam viharam idamahu Ditim cha anupagama silava Dasanena sampanno Kame suvineya gedam Nahi jatu gabaseyam Punare